about your musical journey, how you got started, and where you are today.
Yeah, so I've been doing music for pretty much my whole life, but for those who may have been following my journey, I was doing music secular under the name YCM, Young Cali Motion, for about over a decade. So I've been here in Atlanta for over 14 years. I went to Clark, Atlanta. So
shout out.
Doing music right there in school. You know how that goes. So I was tapped into with a whole bunch of opportunities, opened up some concerts for like Yo Gotti, Jacquees, just to name a few. Did a couple songs like Bryson Tiller and tapped in for Rory Simmons, was on the Breakfast Club. But really what happened was I got to the point where I was getting older. And not too long after actually ready to have my son and I was getting married. It was like, you know what? I want to have this intentional walk with Christ.
Amen.
I want my son to see me how I saw my mom and my dad. You know, just for those who don't know, I'm a PK. So I grew up like seeing like not only how they acted in church, but at home. And it was the same way. And I was like, all right, well, I want my son to be able to see that because I want him to be having an example of what it is to have someone that's righteous. That's living, trying to be righteous, trying to be Christ-like. So I was like, you know what, God, I'm gonna really try to do this. Now, in my mind, I'm just like, all right, I mean, I gotta read my Bible and just be intentional on going to church and maybe stop cussing. And it's so it's like from there, God just like slowly started molding me. I keep telling people, you know, salvation is it sanctification, right? But it's continually happening. Sanctification isn't done until you're in eternity.
Absolutely.
So I think it started out with me slowly, you know, not cussing and not smoking weed no more. That was a big one I had to let go. That hurt me. I used to be pretty much high every day, but then that went away. And I think God also takes a taste from your mouth of certain things that you don't want to do no more. So you don't go to certain places no more, certain clubs. And then slowly it got to the point with music. I was preparing to do another project for the EP that I was working on as under the moniker YCM. And I started feeling the tug in my heart that I already knew I knew what it was, but I tried to continue to ignore it because first of all, I would feel like I was too deep in. Like I'm a decade or so in doing music. I feel like it's about the opportunity to where my son was just on Breakfast Club. Like, okay, I got a couple eyes on me. It's time for me to go ahead and really turn up. And this guy was like, yeah, nah, now it's time. So if you listen to any of my old music, I always said lines in there like, I believe I'm called to preach, but I'm not going to do it unless God come and talk to me for sure. And I think, you know, God has a sense of humor. I think that it was actually, I did a song. I did this Kodak Black cover, I think, and I was ready to shoot a video for it. My homeboy was like, you ready? I'm like, I can't shoot it. Something's telling me I'm not supposed to shoot this video. Like, I just feel like God is telling me to leave this alone. And he's like, all right, cool. So I went over to kick at my homegirl house. He pulled up too. He taking shots or whatever. He's like, bro, I got the camera in the car if you want to still shoot. I'm like, let's go ahead and do it. I'm a little late right now. Let's go ahead and do it. We start shooting a video, and the next day we're going to get ready to edit it, and it's like I'm about to throw up. God is literally on my head the whole time, the whole morning of me knowing I'm getting ready to go edit it. God is like, it's like I hear it clear as day. Leave it alone. That's not what you want you to do. I don't want you doing that anymore. But it ain't hurt nobody. You know, I still tell folks about you. And like really what God showed me is one is, like I told you before we started, you've been using your gifts to glorify the world. Now it's for you to glorify my kingdom.
Sure.
And I think I was like, well, what's wrong with me doing what I'm doing now? You know, I'm gonna use my platform to tell people about you. And I was like, you have to pick one. You can't be in both sides. You can't be in the world and then saying, oh, I'm a Christian, because that can lead somebody astray who thinks that being a Christian is, oh, I can be drunk and high and getting on women and doing all these promiscuous things, but then saying I love God, and then that means that I'm a Christian. Then you're gonna lead people astray from looking at you as an example.
Right.
And so you have to start living your life and being intentional in that walk, so actually following me, not just by word, but in action. And I was like, yeah, nah.
But he got you good.
He got me good.
He got you good.
It really bothered me for about a week. At that point now, I was really just like showing. I was preparing people. I was doing a whole bunch of covers and stuff, and I was like, yeah, like I can't do that. And then God really set me down. I was like, it's either that or nothing type vibe. And I was like, am I making this up in my mind?
Yeah.
Like, am I tripping? So I'm gonna really sit here and pray on it. And I was like, all right, do this. Go ahead and do it. So what name am I supposed to go by? I have no name for it. So I was like, well, if I'm gonna do this, like I'm still stay under the name YCM. Okay. But like what God gave me was when Paul saw persecuting Christians. Once he actually made that change, intentional change. His name was no longer Saul, it was Paul. And so I was like, right, well, what that mean for me? So I started coming up with all these names that I had, and then I was driving in the car, my wife said, "Where you got him? Humble." And I was like, nah, that don't pop. That ain't cool. That's lame. Like that don't hit. So I came up with my own name. I was workshopping with friends. Like I had like 1111 or some hymn like HYMN, like all these different names. And I think I had changed the official song name. You know, gospel music now I'm gonna go by 11. And it like really stuck with me in my head. You know how God convicts you or something.
Yeah.
And what he said to me was, he gave it the name humble. It's not for you. It's the message. Because I'm humbling you amongst people, but they will see you as an example. And that will make them want to actually follow. And so, man, I'm not going to lie to you. It was hard at first because I was like, you know what type of gospel make? People don't want to hear gospel music. And God was like, make the gospel music you want to hear. And I was like, all right,
there you go. There you go.
I didn't necessarily lead to that at first because I was too nervous that it was going to sound too secular.
Yeah.
That was my first EP, which was Using Me. I dropped it in December. And so it had pockets of where I feel like, dang, that might sound a little bit too secular. I was worried about people to say. But there's a new project that I'm working on. It's like I feel more free. I feel like I'm actually being obedient and making the music that I would want to hear in gospel. Because the whole point of this is to evangelize. Right. You know, as a gospel artist, Christian artist, we're not just artists. I think it's James, or I think it's in James where it talks about, you know, everybody shouldn't be teachers because we're going to get those twice as hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So this is something that we do just as lightly. We are evangelizing through song, and we are bringing souls to Christ. And I think it's important for people to be understanding that. I like the fact that a lot of people are coming to Christian music. I think it's important that we all understand the weight and responsibility that we have. And so when I started actually walking into the purpose that God had me doing, I was like, why hadn't I been doing this my whole life? This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
And I always felt like I told you, I feel like I had that feeling of, I was called a priest. And that's back in 2016. I feel like I was called a priest. I'm like, I'm not about to preach and have too much fun.
Right.
And what God clearly showed me is that I called you to preach, but not in the normal sense. You're evangelizing through song. So you're preaching sermons over beats, basically. And that's just where I am now, man. I'm happy where I am in this journey of bringing people to Christ. Continually using my gift, not only just solo, but also I have a podcast too that I do, a friend of mine.
Saw the podcast.
And then also I sing in church.
Okay.
So I go to 2019. So I sing in the choir. It's actually it's crazy how that happened. Me and my wife joined that church like right before things started like going crazy. It's like Pastor Philip is everywhere now. You see him everywhere. But I sing in the choir too, and it's like, you know, with our choir family, man, it's really dope because I sung in the choir growing up, and so, but this is different because they pay a lot of attention to every servant leader. So if you're singing in a choir, usher, whatever you're doing, it's the heart posture.
Wow. What
are you doing this for? What's your why?
Yeah.
Every hour, so we have practice at the present, where we're reading the scripture and really going through to understand your heart posture. What are you doing to be closer to God? And in this moment of worship, it's an intimate moment. What does that mean to you? Are you coming here heavy? Are you giving the burden to God? So I went on the whole tangent, but you know, I'm telling you, that's kind of how I got from there to here now, man. So I'm happy where I am.
Amazing, man. And what's crazy is I started listening to Pastor Philip before he went viral. I was following him on social media when I heard something. I was like, oh, good God, that's a word right there.
Yeah.
So no, that's amazing. Okay, so I want to go back to something because you said something that really always sparks my interest, and I always like to dig a little deeper there. You were a PK. You had the Lord. You were born and raised in the church. You knew everything.
Yeah.
What is it that pulls PKs away from God, or even just a momentary lapse? Like, what is it that pulls people away from that pulls PKs away? Is it do you say it was an attack from the enemy? Do you say that he was trying to keep you off your purpose, knock you off your mission, or do you say, you know what, I just made a choice that I was going to wild out for a minute and then I was going to come back?
So yeah, I can't really speak for all people. But from my story, and when you say it, it's crazy how the answer just came to me. It's not that I made a conscious decision to come back, because I was, to be honest with you, it's just fun.
It was comfortable in that sense.
It was fun. You know, I like Solomon. I like women. that was my thing.
Yeah.
You know, and then on top of that, I just like the partying, like the lifestyle, and it fit just me. Then I ended up being here in Atlanta, so it just fit perfectly.
I know what you were up against because Clark's ratio was 25-1.
I think it was 27-1 my freshman year.
By the time you got there, I see we're 10 years apart, so it was crazy, bro. Like,
and then the AUC ratio was crazy work. The AUC so the AUC ratio I think was like 33 or something.
Oh yeah. When you Spellman there,
I was like, I can imagine what it was like with Morris Brown, but it was like with all of that, I think that I was just so comfortable in living the life and not quote unquote being cool, but that's normal. That's what you see people do. So not only do I see my parents doing the right thing, but oh, you guys are old. Like, of course, that's what you do when you're older. But like when you're young, I see people that say they love God, but they're out here turned up too. So I can love God and be turned too. Yeah. And it's just like, I think that what the enemy does is the enemy sees, I believe they can see the potential of how God will use you. And so to get you off track, they'll continue to have you blinded and misguided to enjoy the comforts of sin, so that you will not walk in the purpose that God has you. Because once you begin to walk in the purpose that God has you, then now you are a threat to their kingdom. Yeah. So I think at first it was just a me of, I want to do this is fun, and then now I'm just being stuck in it and then not realizing it. Because again, I was foolish thinking, I'm a secular artist talking about everything that has nothing to do with God. And I don't think the whole conversation of how I'm just listening to it, secular music is a whole different thing, right? But I'm just doing this music and I'm glorifying the world, everything of the world. None of that is glorifying God. Even when we talk about love, talking about premarital sex. Yeah. And so, but I'm professing to be a Christian. These two don't mix. That's like oil and water. So,
I want to go back to something that I recently heard, and I want to get your reaction to it. Pastor Jamal Bryant, he said that if he could have gotten his flesh in check and controlled his lust issues earlier on in life, God could have done so much more with his life. Do you feel like that was something that could have happened to you back in college, back in those days? Like, if you had gotten that lust under control, would you be in a different place with God right now? Or are you right where you believe God would have had you no matter what?
I believe that everything happens for a reason. And I believe that, was that Jeremiah 29:11? God says, "For I know the plans that I have for you."
Yep.
And I think another one says, "When He is ready for it, it'll happen." Something of that nature. Yeah. So I think that God allows us to go through certain situations to be able to build the person that He wants you to be. So without those experiences, I couldn't be who I am now. I couldn't be able to relate to those who are still trying to fight those lustful thoughts. Or I couldn't be someone to talk to who I got all my friends are in the streets are moving like this, and I'm just the one that happened to go to college. But I know the world that you're in. I'm like, bro, it don't pay to be that. Yeah. Like, cause it's either jail or death. Yeah. Type thing, so, hey, like, I feel like God allowed me to go through that, allowed me to partake of different things so that my tests can be the testimonials of the people who need that example to how to move forward.
Man, I love that. So talk to me about the music. When you write, is it from a place of pain, experience, or a mixture of those two? Like, where is the writing coming from? Is it childhood memories of being fond of the gospel and that's just what you pull from? Or is it like, you know what, I'm telling my story, my testimony, this is pain I went through, this is real truth, this is not made up? But where does it come from?
I think a plethora of everything. Yeah. A piece of everything. So some of it, just some things you pull from childhood, but I think a lot of my music is really kind of resonating with me now in my current daily battle as a Christian. Because I think what people fail to realize is just because I am a Christian and I follow Christ does not mean I don't struggle on the daily.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so I talk about that in each of the songs that I write. A lot of stuff is I'm reading my Bible, a devotional or something I'm reading, like, that'll be a dope song right there. Yeah. And so it could come from that. So I think one of the songs, June 26th Prayer, is literally a song that I wrote when I was stressed out, just coming to Christianity. Is like, I feel like I can't do I got to change all these things. And actually, I was having a conversation with somebody I knew. And they were Seventh-day Adventists, and so they were telling me about how I was wrong, and I was like, God, I'm trying to do the right thing here. And now they telling me this other stuff. I was just trying to live right. Now you telling me so it's like, it was so many things that was going on in that song. So that's why it's called June 26th Prayer. So I'm literally praying out to God. I didn't write. I just went to the booth and I just started recording. And I'll punch in and then say something else. So a lot of the music that I'm making is realistically a mixture of everything, but a lot of the daily emotions that I'm going through. And then however, I think as an artist, however that beat hits, it'll inspire a certain part of that emotion.
Got you. What is it that you want your music to do, or what is your music doing for the legacy of your family? You mentioned you have a wife, you have children. Like, what is the music doing to set the tone for their lives? Because as parents, we want to be able to like infiltrate our kids' lives. Like my kids, I was walking through the house today and they were just singing gospel praise and worship, and I was like, man, God, you're doing something. What is that music doing for them when they hear you recording and they hear you playing back your EP, playing back your songs? Like, what is it doing for them?
I can speak to that, and my son is on actually one of my songs that's coming out.
Nice,
because he's always trying to record. When he sees daddy record, he wants to put the headphones on.
How old is he?
He's 2.
Oh wow, I got a 3-year-old, so that's what's up. 3-year-old son.
He's a character, but we this past Saturday he'll grab a mic on and start singing around the house, and so I just yell and sing with him. But he'll sing a lot of gospel songs. He'll sing a lot of daddy songs, or he'll sing some songs and he hear me playing in a car, which is I pretty much play all gospel music in my car.
Yes, I love that.
And it'd be dope that my wife would just randomly start singing my song lyrics.
Yeah,
I think that God uses music to pierce people sometimes, to pierce them in place in a way that regular words of conversation can't. So I think that what our legacy is for us, the music. I think that it is pulling my son in a direction that he doesn't even know he's going in. He just think he's doing it just because, his daddy doing it. Yeah. I think that's a great foundation to build, because not only does he hear the music, let's just talk to him about God. We also pray before we go to sleep. Also talk to him and let him know, before on the way to school we pray. So I think these are great stepping stones, and also I think it speaks to the point of how the man is supposed to lead the family as a head. And so I'm doing that my best in leading the family in a godly way, and I think that's one of the ways that it is.
That's great, man. I love that. Really love hearing that. Talk about the culture, right? We talked about you being gospel R&B, and then there's been some hesitation with Christians, right? The biggest competition I think we have as Christians is the Christians that don't listen to the art that we put out. Talk about how your music is changing those opinions and what you think could be the new wave for this music.
Yeah, man. I think that with anything new is going to come with resistance, right? My dad used to say, his mama said his music was trash. He said our music was trash. My generation saying young kids' music is trash. So I think as people get older, it's just the taste of music they prefer. Right. I do see where some people are concerned that we are, when I say we, the Christians are trying to be too secular. But my question to them was, God it's more so of a statement, right? God has given us free will.
Yeah.
He gives you a gift. He might not necessarily take it away, but he gives you a gift and gives you the free will how to use it. So that could be you glorifying the world or him. Now my thing is, what if the Teddy Pendergrasses, the Luther Vandrosses, the Drakes, the Chris Browns, what if they use their gift to glorify God? Would gospel as we know it sound the same, or would it still sound like their music now, but they're talking about God? So who's to say that it's not Christian music just because it sounds like the world? But we know that God is the author of everything, right? And we know that the enemy does nothing but mimic God. So technically, would we be sounding like the world, or would we just be sounding like what's put in us already?
I think you're right. I think we would be sounding like what's put in us. That's I mean, we all struggle with that. I think, in some sense, like what we were raised off of. Like I'm a product of hip hop. You're a product of hip hop.
For sure.
So it's hard to not feel like you take a little bit from this, you take a little bit from that, and you kind of put it all together and you make it the way you want it to sound, right? And then there's a fine line with the gospel, right? I was having a conversation with Kenton Jones the other day, and I was talking to him, and I was just like, let me ask you a question. I was like, why is it that, I said, why do I feel like you're underrated as an artist, and I'm like one of the only people that can go back to your catalog and say, I remember when it did this, and I remember when it did that, and I remember when it changed my life. And he was just like, because I don't fit in a lane of any type of music. I'm not CHH, I'm not Christian rap, and I'm not gospel. I'm my own blend. And I thought about that, and I asked him, I said, do you feel like there were gatekeepers that were keeping you out of being in certain places? Like, I know you performed on the Stellars, you've done songs with, you know, Erica Campbell, Mary, and all those good folks. It made me really stop and think. It's like, okay, you got to be like the prophet that's not appreciated in his own town. And you have to just kind of make your own way, you know, put your lane out there and get folks to taste it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what Lecrae did. No, I think you're definitely onto something. I mean, we can't sit back and let older generations tell us what we can and can't do.
Yeah.
Tell us what is and isn't the gospel.
I think to that point though, it's a respect part, right? You know, respect their opinion. But I think I was at Jackie Hill Perry's her listening party for practice.
Okay.
She said something about somebody said, well, what do you say about people saying this song sounds too secular? And she was talking about basically, I am using my gifts to glorify God.
Absolutely.
I'm evangelizing through this. So just because it's not worship music, you know, I'm not quoting her per se, but it's not just because it's not worship music. It's essentially saying, still what I'm making is pointing somebody towards God.
Oh yeah.
Because they might not want to hear the slow worship you song, but if they're hearing this dope song and then they hear it's going through their word, it's something about Jesus, it's stuck in their mind.
Yeah.
You know, music is repetitive. Maybe we want it to be a night, it's stuck in your mind. So now they may be curious to what is this God all about? Or maybe I should go read a book, read this book, the Bible, and see what it's talking about. Or let's say our reference a verse. Let me go read what that verse is. And that verse might be the verse that God wants them to read to strike some conviction to be like, yeah. So I think that it's important that while we can respect what the older generations say, we can also say that with all due respect, this is what God has given me. Who are we to question God? Because the more important question is the heart posture. Yeah. No man knows the heart posture except God. Yeah. So I think that's important to let the young people be great, right? In their new music. But also I think it's also it's a respectful way to say, I agree, but I disagree.
No, you're right. I mean, in everything you say, I put a stamp and a seal on because we've actually been through that ourselves. I think
my pastor, Pastor Philip, is always saying about along the lines of basically people are so concerned with people looking like Christian, as opposed to being a Christian. Yeah. Right. So I think that is important as well. People want you to play the part, but how's the walk? What's the fruit looking like? Because you want this person to act this way, and they're saying that they're an orange tree and they're producing apples. But you got this person over here that they're actually producing the oranges. I love that. So you got to actually understand the heart posture and what is the fruit that's being produced. Yeah.
So before I let you go and we get up out of here, talk to me about remaining independent and where you want God to take you in this next season of your life.
And I'm very prayerful right now because, you know, I work in corporate America. So it's like,
the check is good.
Yeah. But also it would be great if I actually just did music, worshiping and glorifying God. Yeah. And, you know, God said your gifts will make room for you. Yeah. I'm like, dang, all right, well, God, you know, hey. But it's like, I really want to walk into something that not just what I want, but what will be God using me for. Yeah. And then how that will help other people and help my circle. Yeah. Right. Like my wife, my son, and, you know, friends and family, things of that nature. I enjoy the freedom that I have as an independent artist. But also as well, that also comes from our pocket, right? Yeah. So anything that I'm doing, you know, thankfully I have a studio set up and I'm doing all the videos and editing stuff myself. That's great. But, you know, I have a videographer that I've been working with for over a decade. Shout out to Travis, Champion Dream Productions. Oh, nice. Actually really dope. Okay. But, you know, I still have engineers I can still reach out to, Keith Dawson and Libby V. Like I can still work with them, but it's like, then when it comes to like promotions and things of that nature, that's out of my pocket. Yeah. So it's like I got to divert. I can't just be like, I'm also married, so I got a budget. I do things of that nature. So, that's where a label comes in at, and that would be great to get some help. I'm just I'm looking to see what happens, what opportunities come about. I'll pray and see how God moves me.
Praise God, man, for that. Your entire journey has just been sounds like amazing, stamps of approval that God has over your life, man. So it's amazing. And I thank you, brother. I really thank you for sitting down and doing this Independent Artist Spotlight with me, man. This has been great conversation. I know it's not going to be the last conversation, because I'm definitely going to have you come back up here and speak on some of these topics that we talk about on this show.
Sure.
Yeah, man, we'll continue to vibe and link. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media and how they can support you.
Yeah, for sure. So you guys can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, at Humble. That's HMBLD.mp3. I think I have a link in my Instagram, so it's a link tree to all my different socials or YouTube, things of that nature. I actually got a song about to drop on this Friday.
Nice.
It's called No Baggage Fees.
Okay.
So that's kind of coming from Matthew, where God said, come to me, all you are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Kind of play on words, but it's just really kind of surrendering all to God.
Awesome.
So looking forward to seeing what people like about that.
Awesome. That's what's up, man. Well, listen, you heard it first from Humble. Thank you again for tuning in. This is another segment of the Independent Artist Spotlight, and this is your man, Ryan Righteous. We out. Peace.
Artist Spotlight, okay. Making sure you shine bright, okay. Ryan Righteous, that's right, okay. Trackstarz too hype, okay.